Boneddigion e boneddigesau. Bore da a croeso I gyfarfod blynyddol Cymdeithas Adeiladu'r Principality. Yn anfodaeth Duw I ddim yn siarad Cymraeg, felly bydd y cyfarfod yn cael ei gynnal yn Saesneg. Unfortunately, I don't speak Welsh, so the rest of the meeting will be conducted in English. A very good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Principality's 161st AGM. I sincerely hope each and every one of you is in good health after a very challenging 2020 for us all. The most important issue right now is looking after the health of our country and making sure the most vulnerable in society are safe and well. We realize this is a challenging time and unsettling for everybody. Please be rest assured that the safety of our colleagues and members remains paramount. During the pandemic, we have tried to provide excellent customer service to make sure we're running your society to continue to meet your savings and mortgage needs. As a result of the health advice, we've had to change the format, location, and restrict attendance at this year's AGM. Many of you listening will have been regular AGM attenders in the past, and we look forward to resuming normal service hopefully next year. However, this is an exciting first for Principality. By streaming our AGM live to you now, we're making a little bit of history today. I do hope we can make it as engaging for you as we've tried in the past AGMs, but you do have to supply your own tea and biscuits. As a business, our positive results in 2020, together with your continued support, means we've the strength and resilience as a business to come through the impact of this terrible pandemic. I'd now like to say a few brief things about colleagues before handing to our Group Secretary, Mike Borrell. First, a few updates on board changes. I'm going to be stepping down as chair following today's AGM and welcome my successor, Sally Jones-Evans, who many of you know has been a very valuable member of the board these past 6 years. Since our last AGM, we've also appointed Julianne Haynes as CEO, and I am so proud that Principality will simultaneously have a female chair and CEO running its business for you, our members. We also say goodbye to two long-standing employees, Peter Hughes, who's been the managing director of our commercial team for the last 18 years, and the mastermind behind the mill in Cardiff, which will see more than 800 homes built on an old brownfield site, more than 400 of which are affordable rented homes. We're also going to say goodbye to our Group Secretary, Mike Borrell, after today's AGM. Mike steps down in August, and he is Mr. Principality. There isn't much he doesn't know about this business, having been here for over 30 years. Thank you both for everything you've done for Principality. We wish you happy, healthy, relaxed, and fulfilled futures. I'd now like to pay tribute and thank our wonderful colleagues for their contribution to performing so well in these difficult circumstances throughout 2020. Colleagues have adapted brilliantly, with almost 800 of them who are based in our Cardiff headquarters working from home since March 2020. And a very special thanks must go to hundreds of our branch colleagues who've served their communities for essential transactions right throughout this pandemic, handling difficult situations with great sensitivity. All our colleagues have continued to operate with the highest professionalism and empathy that makes Principality stand out as an award-winning business for customer experience. Their dedication and enthusiasm means that the society remains in excellent hands. I'll now hand you to Mike Borrell.
Thank you, Laurie. There are just a few housekeeping matters we need to run through before the commencement of the formal part of today's meeting. Notice of the annual general meeting has been issued in accordance with the Society's rules and the associated statutory requirements. In accordance with the Society's existing rules, members attending today's meeting by way of the web streaming facility do not count towards the required quorum for today's meeting. Arrangements for today's annual general meeting have been made to meet with social distancing protocols. Due to current circumstances, one of our non-executive directors, Claire Hafner, joins today's meeting by video conferencing arrangements, and although attending the meeting in this way, is not eligible to be counted for the purposes of determining whether a quorum is present at today's meeting. As Secretary, I am, however, satisfied that a quorum consisting of 10 or more members is present at the meeting and that the meeting can take place in accordance with the Society's rules. We would normally arrange for and encourage members wishing to do so to ask questions in Welsh. However, on this occasion, we have not been able to make arrangements for a translator to be present at today's meeting in light of current circumstances. Members are therefore asked to ask questions in English during the course of this meeting. To ensure that everyone who wants to ask a question has the opportunity to do so, members are asked to refrain from asking more than one question on each resolution. Members have also had the opportunity to submit questions in advance of the meeting. Members attending the meeting electronically wishing to ask a question are asked to submit their question as soon as possible. This will allow the necessary time for questions to be passed through to the floor of the meeting and to be addressed at the appropriate point in the meeting. Rather than voting for each resolution in turn, voting will take place on all resolutions after they've been laid before the meeting and debated. Laurie.
Thank you, Mike. The safety of your savings remains of paramount importance, and I can assure you that the Society remains resilient and in a financially strong position, with a balance sheet exceeding £11 billion for the first time in our history. Despite a very competitive housing market, the board and I are proud that in the last 12 months, we've helped more than 4,000 first-time buyers onto the property ladder. Helping people get a home and stay in one for as long as possible is what we stand for as a mutual building society. And without your savings, we couldn't do that. We are member-owned, we are member-focused, and I'd like, therefore, to thank you, our members, for all your support during a very strong 2020 for Principality. I'm now going to hand you over to our Chief Executive, Julianne Haynes, who's going to give a short update which outlines the Society's 2020 results in more detail. Julianne, your performance update, please.
Thank you, Laurie, and welcome to all of our members. We're delighted you've joined us virtually today. It's 7 months since I became CEO, and whilst it hasn't been the easiest time to take the reins, the fact I have been at the Society for more than 14 years and know the Society inside out has meant that it's been a smooth transition. I'm incredibly grateful to Mike Jones, who was the interim CEO for 9 months, and want to thank him, the board, our leadership team and colleagues for everything they have done and continue to do to ensure that your Society has performed well despite everything that was happening around them. Whether that be COVID, the transition out of the European Union, or indeed the volatility in the economy and markets, it's fair to say that 2020 really has been a challenging time. I'd like to spend a few minutes focusing on the strategy of your Society and then to talk through our performance in 2020. In summary, your board and I are proud of the achievements of the Society over the past 12 months, and notwithstanding the challenges, we've been able to continue with our investment programme to ensure the long-term success of Principality. The first element of our strategy I'd like to talk through is our focus on brilliant people, and this really did come to the fore in 2020. I'm so proud of how the business focused all its efforts on supporting members, colleagues and communities during a difficult year. During the first half of the year, we had to deal with a number of operational challenges, not least enabling around 800 colleagues from our head office to work effectively from home. Our colleagues really pulled together and helped grant more than 15,000 homeowners a mortgage payment deferral, helping them to cope with the financial uncertainty created by the pandemic. Furthermore, the business has supported communities by keeping our branches open throughout the various lockdown periods. Our colleagues have gone above and beyond to help our members across Wales. For example, our Treorchy branch colleagues heard about a vulnerable member who had to self-isolate and couldn't go out to do their shopping. The members of the team went, did some shopping for him and left it on his doorstep. We've prioritised the well-being of our colleagues, whether that be through the provision of PPE to customer-facing colleagues or through investment in mental health training. We were delighted to see that our colleague engagement scores increased significantly as measured through the external benchmarking firm Great Place to Work, demonstrating our progress on this part of our strategy. In 2019, we were rated 13th in the UK's super large companies, and I'm hoping that in the next week, we will receive positive news on whether we've managed to improve on that position. Fingers crossed. It's important we look to the future and continue our programme of investment in technology to further improve our award-winning service and broaden the range of products we are able to offer to our members. Across 2020, we've continued to invest in the second part of our strategy, to be a purpose-led organisation, helping communities and members to achieve their goals of safety, security of their savings, and getting and staying on the housing ladder. I am pleased that as a result of improvements to our technology, we're able to offer a wider range of products online, such as our NHS Thank You Savings and Mortgage range for NH workers in Wales, and our First Home Step savings account and mobile app to help people save for a deposit for their first home. I'm very proud of the efforts our colleagues have made to improve the lives of others. As a purpose-led business, we will continue to work hard to help our communities deal with the many challenges they face. This has included helping communities during the floods across Wales in February 2020 and providing support to projects during the crisis, as well as donating £1,000 each to 10 different local charities selected by our colleagues. Principality colleagues still found innovative ways to raise money for charity this year. With match funding from us, a total of £152,000 was donated, split equally between Principality's two charity partners, Teenage Cancer Trust Cymru and the Alzheimer's Society. Principality has also partnered with Young Money for their Fiver Challenge, which encourages the development of entrepreneurial and financial education skills for children whilst raising money for local causes. More than 8,000 children signed up for this digital challenge through their schools, and we hope to see many more take part in 2021. For the third year running, Principality has won the Watt Mortgage Award for Best Building Society for customer service, and for the second year running, we received a Which recommended mortgage provider for customer service. This is reflected in the Society's Net Promoter Score, which is well above the sector average at 79.8, meaning almost 8 out of 10 members say they would recommend Principality to their family or friends based on their levels of satisfaction. Our enhanced online security has made members' accounts more secure, whilst a new web chat function has added to our great customer experience. Our ambition is to move at pace in the next few years to deliver greater technology to drive us forward as a business that will offer greater flexibility to its members. But we will continue to complement this with the great branch service we operate in Wales and along the borders with England. One of the consequences of the pandemic was that the Bank of England reduced base rate to a historical low of 0.1%. Despite this, we've maintained our position as offering competitive products, and we continue to be one of the best on the high street. We delivered an average rate to savers of 1% compared to the market average of 0.59%. But I do recognise it's a very difficult time for savers. Our strategy is to offer rates that are consistent and competitive in the high street. So moving on to our performance in 2020. Providing a safe and secure home for our members' savings is fundamental to the ongoing success of our business, and our aim is to continue to build scale, strength and resilience. As a building society owned by you, our members, we're not under pressure to meet the needs of shareholders. Our aim is not to maximise profit, but to focus on the long-term future of the society. Last year, we signposted an expected reduction in profits due to continued investment in technology, and despite the pandemic, we did invest as planned. We took a prudent and conservative position in June 2020 and increased our provision levels to cover any potential future losses from mortgage customers, taking into account economic forecasts including unemployment and property prices. Whilst no significant credit losses have been incurred to date, it is recognised that some customers may experience financial difficulties over the next few years. This prudent approach has resulted in an underlying profit before tax of £24.1 million. This is a very credible performance and a strong recovery from our interim results given the economic conditions we've been operating in. Principality has strong capital reserves built up over the past 160 years, and this gives us confidence that we have the resilience to withstand any economic shocks with our absolute capital at £595 million last year, what you might call our rainy day fund. We have continued to grow our mortgage book, but at a reduced level than in previous years. This growth is being funded by increased levels of member savings through the offering of wider propositions. Our net residential mortgage lending increased by £182 million, taking total retail lending over £8 billion for the first time, despite the UK housing market coming to a standstill for the best part of 4 months. Our commercial team once again contributed in helping our communities with work completed on the second phase of affordable homes at the Mill development in Cardiff. The team have now completed £55 million of the £75 million Affordable Housing Fund established in 2018, and pleasingly this has seen take-up from housing associations across all corners of Wales. We continue in our efforts to make housing more environmentally sustainable and are delighted to be supporting a number of house builders through funding of solar-powered and zero-carbon homes. So let's now focus on the outlook. We do expect the economic environment to remain challenging in 2021 and beyond, as the impact of the pandemic continues to be felt. In these difficult circumstances, I want to assure members that Principality remains a safe home for your savings and has the strength to resist the turbulence we may face. Our immediate focus remains on helping colleagues and members through these uncertain times. Regardless of the challenges, our long-term priorities remain unchanged, and we remain committed to developing, growing, and investing in our business. We also need to become a more diverse and sustainable organisation, ensuring that we truly represent our membership and encourage all of our stakeholders to make a positive contribution in looking after our planet. So in conclusion, our 2020 performance has been positive, and we continue to invest to improve your society. We will ensure we are as successful in the next 160 years as the first 160 years. And your voice as a member-owned organisation is critical to that success. My interactions with members are so helpful in understanding what we must continue to do, as well as where we need to focus and improve. I'd like to take the opportunity to pay tribute to the members of the Member Forum chaired by Robert Sanger. The Forum has met with senior managers on a quarterly basis over a long period of time, providing feedback on what we do, and they've helped to shape some of our strategic initiatives. We've talked to our Forum members about how to increase the member voice within the society, as now only 5 members sit on that Forum. As a result, we're proud to launch Member Pulse, an online community for members across Wales and the UK whom we can consult, get feedback on business issues in real time and on a frequent basis. And I'm confident that this will ensure that your views are really shaping your society, building on events like the AGM and our member talkback sessions which we hold across the year. Finally, I'd like to thank you for all your ongoing support. Diolch yn fawr iawn. Now we're going to be answering some of our member questions, and thank you to everyone who's asked us a question. We will do our best to cover as many as we can now. But if we do not manage to answer your question in the meeting, we will follow up with you separately and upload all questions and answers to our website as normal. So, turning to our first question, why are savings rates so low? We've also had a specific question on how we calculate interest and why there are differences between what you're paid and our online calculator. So I'm going to ask our Chief Financial Officer, Tom Denman, to cover this question. Tom.
Good morning. Yeah, and thanks very much for the question. So, as Julianne said, we do recognise that savers rates have been low for a fair amount of time, recently. But what we can offer in terms of rates is directly linked to the interest that we earn on mortgages. And again, for the past sort of 2 to 3 years, the UK mortgage market has been very, very competitive. Therefore, mortgage rates have been at historic lows. Added to that, base rate, Bank of England base rate reduced to 0.1% at the start of the pandemic, and what that will mean is that rates will probably stay lower for a bit longer. But where possible, we have sought out and we will continue to seek out ways of protecting members' rates and adding member value. In terms of how we calculate interest and what it means for the calculator, we apply interest when funds are cleared. So, for instance, if it's cash or electronic transfers, ordinarily we will start to apply interest when we receive those, on the day we receive those. Cheque clearance is slightly longer. The cheque clearance cycle is 3 days, so we will apply interest 2 days after the day that the cheque is deposited with us. This actual clearance system has come down. It used to be 6 days, but the introduction of cheque imaging has reduced that down to 3 days. There's a lot more information on our website and obviously in the product T's and C's.
Thank you, Tom. Now, our second question is for Laurie. Laurie, the question is the board sufficiently diverse?
Well, as chairman, I'm responsible for ensuring that the makeup of the Society's board is diverse and is equipped with a broad range of skills required to meet the current needs and future challenges faced by the Society. The composition of the board is reviewed annually, and where necessary, action is taken to bring on board new directors and refresh the skill sets required. We think in terms of board succession too, and planning and diversity are of direct interest also to our Society's regulators and are a feature of the ongoing dialogue which takes place with them. The need to ensure that the Society's board is made up of the necessary broad range of skills is also reinforced by the FCA's senior managers regime. Of course, it's also important that board members have a good understanding of the external environment within which we operate and how any changes, including customer behaviour and technology, for example, impact on the Society and its operations. As part of earlier work to promote greater female representation within the Society and at board level, the board agreed back in 2016 to establish a 5-year diversity target of a third, 33.5%. I'm pleased to say that at 31st December 2020, 36% of board members were female. We're looking to increase our diversity, including BAME representation on the board over the next few years. And we've set ourselves a target of having at least 2 board members from a more diverse background by 2024.
Thank you, Laurie. So the next question we've had from a member is, why has the summary financial statement not been updated regarding the member forum when the forum has been informed by the newly appointed chief executive that it is moribund, partly because of its lack of diversity and too long a service? So just to explain that one, the summary financial statement is designed to reflect the activities of the Society across 2020, and we continue to meet the forum throughout the year, face-to-face in the first quarter and then virtually. Given we had only 5 members on the forum for a period of time, we decided to benchmark how the Society consulted with members against other building societies and mutual organisations. Now, as a result of our membership spanning Wales and England, the most cost-effective and efficient way of reaching large numbers of members was to launch Member Pulse, which I mentioned in my speech earlier. So now moving on to sustainability, we had a number of questions coming in this, and I'm going to ask Mike Jones, our Chief Risk Officer, to talk to us about what the Society is doing in this space. Mike, over to you.
Thanks, Julianne. It's a really good question, and there's a range of activities underway. And it starts with colleagues, and we already have an established network of environmental champions working across the business. Now, we recognise that education's a key part of this, and we're making it. Our plans this year include allowing colleagues to sit mandatory training, just to give them a specific idea of carbon literacy and what that means, not just from a business perspective, but also from a personal perspective. We've also recently appointed a full-time sustainability manager whose role will be to look to coordinate activity across the group and identify ways we can help colleagues and customers alike. And finally, from a board perspective, we will set a strategy later this year at board level, which will be published, and that will include appropriate targets and metrics which we think will be relevant to help us manage the approach we take towards climate change in the future.
Thanks, Mike. We've also had a question pre-submitted by a member around our investment in marketing and how much we pay the WRU. Now, unfortunately, we cannot disclose the exact figure of the WRU contract, as this is commercially sensitive for both organisations. We believe we receive excellent value for our organisation through this partnership, but we did conduct a very detailed assessment with an external party before we entered into the contract, and it did receive much board conversation before we agreed to it. Now, in addition, I'm unable to disclose the actual costs spent across marketing due to commercial sensitivity, but what I can say is the split of marketing budget is generally a third towards regulatory and service communications, a third towards member engagement activities such as the nationalised Steadford, and the remainder split across activities such as our digital transformation and research. Now, what I can say is that we do benchmark our level of marketing investment with other banks and building societies, and I remain content that relative to our size and scale of membership and our regional footprint, our investment is at an appropriate level. Next question, will the Society continue to invest in their branches remaining on the high street? You know, my view on this is our branches are a very important part of what we do. And so we always say that whilst our members continue to use, value and recommend our branches, then we are committed to having a strong presence in our communities. Indeed, this year we have moved our Hereford branch and moved that to a much better location to make sure that it really does meet the needs of members and is much more visible in that community. Now, the last question that I've got that's been submitted is regarding strong customer authentication. New regulation that's been introduced to ensure that we are sort of protecting customers online. So this question for you, Tom, I guess, is, what is SCA about and how do we make sure that we're really thinking about vulnerable customers as well?
Absolutely, yeah, good question. I mean, there's been lots obviously in the media and in industry publications on this topic. So strong customer authentication is like you say, Julianne. It's about protecting members, who want to make online transactions, and the mobile phone solution that we've introduced using one-time passcodes is widely used in the industry, and again, it is in accordance with the regulations, the SCA regulations, and obviously the FCA have an interest in this as well. It's a two-factor approach. So what we do is we'll ask you something that you know, which is your password, and then we'll get you to prove something that you own, which is your mobile phone. And again, like I say, this is widely used in the industry. We will continue to monitor what is in there in the market. We will continue to listen to our members, and if we make any changes to our approach, then we will communicate these on our website and through the normal channels.
Thank you, Tom. So we're going to end the Q&A for this part of the meeting at this point. We have received some further questions from members already provided, and members can continue to ask questions using the chat functionality. We will ensure to respond to everyone in the coming days, and as I said at the beginning, we will upload all information to our website soon. Laurie, back to you.
Thank you very much, Julianne. I'm now going to move on to the first of the 6 agenda items, which is to receive the Auditors' report. A copy of the audit report from the auditors Deloitte. It's included in both the 2020 summary financial statement and in the annual report and accounts. And I'll take the report as read. I'd now like to welcome Kieran Cooper from Deloitte to the AGM as the Society's audit partner, who joins us today by video conference link. We're now going to take any specific questions for the auditors. Julianne, are there any questions for the auditors?
No, we haven't received any questions on this matter.
Okay. I'm now going to move on to agenda item 2, which is to receive the Director's Report, Annual Report and Accounts, and Business Statement for the year ended 31st December 2020. We'll now take specific questions about the report and business statement. Julianne, are there any questions?
No, Laurie, we've answered all the questions relating to this in the earlier Q&A.
Okay, thank you. I'm now going to move on to agenda item 3, reappointment of the auditors. Since being reappointed as auditors by members at last year's AGM, Deloitte have provided a professional service throughout the year. They've completed their audit work in a timely manner, have attended all the meetings of the audit committee, and continue to meet privately with members of that committee without management being present, which is good corporate practice. Your board continues to be happy to recommend to members that Deloitte are reappointed as the Society's auditors. Kieran, as our Deloitte representative, can you please confirm that Deloitte are happy to seek reappointment as auditors for another year?
I can confirm that, Laurie.
Thank you. We'll now take any questions relating to the reappointment of the auditors. Julianne, are there any questions?
There aren't at this point.
Okay. I'm now going to move on to agenda item 4, the report on directors' remuneration, which was published in the annual report and accounts and the summary financial statement. The Remuneration Committee is formed exclusively of non-executive directors. In 2020, we had a good year, and we need to ensure we have the right people to take this business forward. In order to get the very best people, I believe we must continue to recruit, retain, and reward our colleagues appropriately to ensure we keep the Society safe and secure. Julianne, are there any questions on this, please?
Yes, Laurie, we have one question which I will pose to Sally Jones-Evans, the Chair of our Remuneration Committee. Sally, the question is, how can the Society justify the payment of bonuses in light of the ongoing impacts of the pandemic?
Thank you, Julianne, and good morning, everyone. Yeah, a very understandable question in the circumstances, and one which the Remuneration Committee did, of course, directly address when it met earlier this year. The first thing is to say that we do understand that some companies have made a policy of not paying any bonuses this year, particularly those who have taken public-funded furlough money, for instance. But Principality has not furloughed any staff during the pandemic, and therefore we felt that that particular criteria was not something that we needed to adjust for. We therefore did our usual job of looking at the performance of the Society and the performance of our colleagues, and the Remuneration Committee felt very strongly that it was appropriate this year to reward our colleagues for the exceptional skills that they have shown in looking after our members, in putting our members first, and in delivering some standout service experiences during the last year. So our payments under the Rewarding Excellence Award and the Leading Excellence Award are lower than you will have seen in previous years because the profits were lower. That's right and proper. But we did make the awards as set out in the summary financial statement, very aware of the COVID backdrop, but also at the same time wanting to send a strong signal to our colleagues that they very much deserved this recognition.
Thank you, Sally. There are no further questions being submitted, Chair.
Thank you. We'll move on now to resolution number 5. This is a special resolution which concerns proposed changes to the Society's rules. Special resolutions must be passed by not less than 3/4 of members who are qualified to vote and have done so. The proposed changes are set out in the summary document that members have received as part of this year's annual general meeting information pack, and a signed copy of that I'm now going to produce to the meeting. The proposed changes to the Society's rules are designed to allow members to be held electronically and/or in more than one physical location. They're also designed to clarify procedures for adjourned meetings. They also will clarify the quorum requirements for meetings and improve the requirements regarding giving notice of meetings in the event of disruption to postal services. And finally, to reflect the requirements of the Mental Health Discrimination Act of 2013. We'll now take specific questions relating to the proposed changes to the Society's rules. Julianne, have we received any questions?
Yes, just one question received, which maybe I can direct to Mike Borrow. Can you tell us why we've made the changes proposed?
Thank you, Julianne. So, broadly, the Society's rules are based on and follow the model rules which are produced by the Building Societies Association. So, following the onset of the COVID-19 pandemic last year, the Building Societies Association took the decision to revise the model rules, taking into account the difficulties which societies like ours faced in arranging their AGMs in 2020. So in broad terms, the changes made by the Building Societies Association to its model rules concern allowing for a physical annual general meeting, or indeed a special general meeting, to be arranged in a way which allows for possible social distancing constraints through allowing the number of members required to form a quorum to be present simultaneously in more than one location. Equally, the changes allow for members attending an AGM or special general meeting virtually by way of an electronic platform to be counted as present for the purposes of forming a quorum. And finally, to enable members attending an annual general meeting or an AGM virtually to cast their vote during the meeting in the same way as those members attending a meeting in a physical way. So the changes proposed today to the Society's rules are therefore designed to follow the changes made to the BSA's model rules.
Thank you, Mike. And Laurie, we have no further questions.
Thank you indeed, Mike. I'm now going to move on to agenda item 6, which is election of directors. Notwithstanding Rule 26, which has been referred to in all previous years, all directors stand for election annually. A biography of each director seeking re-election was circulated with the notice of this meeting, and each director must receive more votes for than against in order to be elected. We'll now take questions about any of the directors standing for election this year. Julianne, are there any?
There aren't, Laurie.
Okay, thank you. We'll now move on to the next part of the meeting, which deals with voting. Civica, formerly known as Electoral Reform Services, the independent scrutineers, they're not with us here today due to the current circumstances. They have, as normal, completed the count of proxy votes cast before today's meeting. Any votes cast today will be counted by the Society Secretary, Mike Borrow. I will now ask the Society Secretary to read the resolutions. Mike.
Thank you, Laurie. Resolution number 1, to receive the Auditor's report. Resolution number 2, to receive the annual report and accounts. Resolution number 3, to reappoint Deloitte LLP as auditors. Resolution number 4, to approve the report on directors' remuneration as set out in the annual report and accounts. Resolution number 5, to consider and, if thought fit, pass a special resolution to amend the rules of the Society in the manner specified in the document produced to the meeting and initialled by the Chairman for the purposes of identification. Resolution number 6 concerns the election of directors as follows: to re-elect Nigel Charles Annett, to re-elect Thomas Denman, to re-elect Deborah Elizabeth Evans-Williams, to re-elect Claire Andre Hafner, to re-elect Julianne Haynes, to re-elect Derek Anthony Howell, to re-elect Robert Michael Jones, to re-elect Sally Jones-Evans, to re-elect Ian Alexander Mansfield, and finally to re-elect David James Rigney. Laurie.
May I have a proposer and seconder for all the resolutions? Thank you. As no votes were cast during the meeting, the Secretary will now announce the results of the proxy vote taken before the meeting. These results will be published on the Society's website later this afternoon.
Thank you, Laurie. The results of the proxy vote taken prior to the meeting are now as follows. To receive the Auditor's report, votes in favour, 21,638, representing 98.72% of all votes cast. Resolution passed. Resolution number 2. To receive the annual report and accounts, votes in favour, 21,651, representing 98.76% of all votes cast. Resolution passed. Resolution 3. To reappoint Deloitte LLP as auditors, votes in favour, 20,689, representing 95.42% of all votes cast. Resolution passed. Resolution 4. To approve the report on directors' remuneration as set out in the annual accounts. Votes in favour, 19,336, representing 90.68% of all votes cast. Resolution passed. Resolution 5. To consider and, if thought fit, pass a special resolution to amend the rules of the Society in the manner specified in the document produced to the meeting and initialled by the Chairman for the purposes of identification. Votes in favour, 20,102, representing 95.81% of all votes cast. Resolution passed. Resolution 6, election of directors. To re-elect Nigel Charles Annett, votes in favour, 20,682, representing 96.11% of all votes cast. Resolution passed. To re-elect Thomas Denman, votes in favour, 20,697, representing 96.19% of all votes cast. Resolution passed. To re-elect Deborah Elizabeth Evans-Williams, votes in favour, 20,604, representing 95.73% of all votes cast. Resolution passed. To re-elect Claire Andre Hafner, votes in favour, 20,705, representing 96.21% of all votes cast. Resolution passed. To re-elect Julianne Haynes, votes in favour, 20,852, representing 96.53% of all votes cast. Resolution passed. To re-elect Derek Anthony Howell, votes in favour, 20,478, representing 95.6% of all votes cast. Resolution passed. To re-elect Robert Michael Jones, votes in favour, 20,674, representing 96.08% of all votes cast. Resolution passed. To re-elect Sally Jones-Evans, votes in favour, 20,700, representing 95.97% of all votes cast. Resolution passed. To re-elect Ian Mansfield, votes in favour, 20,531, representing 95.88% of all votes cast. Resolution passed. To re-elect David James Rigney, votes in favour, 20,546, representing 95.93% of all votes cast. Resolution passed. I will now hand over to Sally Jones-Evans, who will succeed Laurie Adams as the Society's chair. Sally.
Thanks, Mike. We're getting towards the end of our meeting this morning, and on behalf of all of us, I just wanted to say a few words to Laurie, if I may. Laurie, I speak on behalf of our members today, mainly. I know I do, because I've got a real sense of how much they valued your service over the past 8 or so years. But I also speak on behalf of your board, our board here, and on behalf of all of our colleagues. We want to say thank you publicly to you, Laurie, for the incredible service that you've given this organisation over the last years. You've seen the organisation through an amazing period of time, all sorts of challenges, but also fantastic growth and a great period of planning and investing for the future as well. And so you leave a tremendous legacy for which we're very grateful, and I pledge that I will continue your good work on behalf of all of our members. Thank you. Diolch yn fawr.
Sally, thank you very much indeed for those gracious words. I'd actually like to thank all of you today for who've joined us and are listening. And as I am the outgoing chair, just a couple of other words. I'm very proud and privileged to have been part of this very special organisation. It's been an immense team effort to get the business to the healthy, strong position it's in today. And I've enjoyed working with such industrious and talented and kind colleagues at Principality. And finally, we wouldn't be successful without the support of you, our loyal members. I'm very sorry, as I said earlier, not to be able to share a cup of tea and a sandwich with you today, but closing, I'd like to thank each of you for continuing to choose Principality, and which each of you a very healthy and prosperous future. Diolch yn fawr iawn.